Volume 2 of Stranger Things 5 just revealed something crazy, and it completely changes the whole understanding of the series, so let's break it down. So, for most of the series, the Upside Down felt like a dark mirror world. Same streets, same buildings, same layout, just rotten and haunted. It's easy to assume it was its own dimension, basically Hawkins, but corrupted. But Volume 2 flips that assumption. The Upside Down is revealed to be a wormhole, a bridge between 2 points in time and space, connecting the normal world to a completely different dimension. That other dimension is what the characters are calling the Abyss. So the Upside Down is not a final destination like we first thought, not the main other world at the center of the nightmare. It's the passageway to the real thing, the connecting tissue, the dangerous tunnel between here and somewhere far worse. When the show frames it that way, earlier questions start to feel different, especially the question of where the monsters actually come from and why the Upside Down often felt strangely empty. One of the biggest details tied to this reveal is the idea that the Demogorgons and the Mind Flayer do not originate in the Upside Down. They're not native to that bridge. They're from the Abyss, and the Upside Down is the just route they used to cross over. That also retroactively explains why characters could move through long stretches of the Upside Down without constant swarms of creatures. If it's a bridge, not a home, it makes sense that it wouldn't be packed with residents. A corridor, not a city, and one that wouldn't randomly be full of enemies all the time. The show delivers this in a way that feels like a puzzle finally clicking into place. Dustin puts the pieces together after uncovering Dr. Brenner's notes in the Upside Down version of Hawkins' lab. The discovery isn't just a lore dump to give us a goal for the final episode. It's tied to a very real problem because the moment the wrong thing is disturbed, the stability of that space begins to fail and Earth's safety is at risk. It becomes obvious that whatever holds this bridge together is fragile, and that fragility can kill. That's where the exotic matter comes in, and it's one of the creepiest visuals in the entire batch of episodes. Inside the Upside Down Hawkins lab, there's a strange floating orb of exotic matter that's described as the single source of energy holding the wall of the Upside Down together. In simple terms, it's the stabilizer, what keeps the wormhole from collapsing in on itself. When that stability is disrupted, the consequences are immediate, violent, and terrifying. This is also why the wall around the Upside Down matters so much in Volume 2. Earlier on, it was easy to treat that wall like a defensive structure, like Vecna built a barrier to keep people out or keep something trapped in. Volume 2 reframes it. That wall is part of the bridge's structure. What keeps the wormhole stable? When it breaks, there's not just an opening, there's a failure of the bridge itself. And that failure isn't just dangerous because it creates a path for monsters. It's dangerous because the Upside Down is not surrounded by normal air and gravity the way Hawkins is in the normal world. The show directly treats it like a bridge suspended between worlds, and outside that bridge is something like a vacuum of nothingness between dimensions, which almost kills our crew. When the structure fully fails, things don't just fall. They can be pulled away into that emptiness, lost in a way that feels final. And the finale proves exactly how devastating that collapse can be. When Murray's bomb finally detonates and destroys the exotic matter, there's an insane special effects sequence showing the Upside Down literally collapsing inward, with everything inside being swept out into the void of space. The bridge implodes into absolute nothingness, taking everything with it. Anyone caught inside when that happens is gone forever, which is exactly what makes Eleven's choice to stay behind so terrifying and permanent. This is where the Abyss starts to feel like a real location with a real position relative to everything else. Because the reveal is not only that the Upside Down is a bridge, but also that the Abyss literally above the Upside Down, not metaphorically, but physically. That detail becomes important later, because it's what makes the final plan possible and also what makes Vecna's plan so scary. The Max and Holly storyline is one of the clearest demonstrations that the Abyss is very unique compared to the Upside Down. Max has been trapped inside Vecna's mind space for a long time, and when she finally begins to fight her way out, she doesn't do it alone. Holly is there too, and the two of them run through memories, through traps, through pieces of Vecna's inner world that are designed to confuse and break them. During that escape, they witness a memory that feels like it's being held back on purpose, like the show is intentionally showing just enough to make it matter, without giving the whole truth yet because it'll blow our minds. They see a young Henry Creel in a Nevada cave, and there's a scientist there. The encounter turns violent when Henry is shot in the hand, and Henry kills the scientist in return. The scene is presented as something pivotal, the kind of moment that doesn't just explain one character, and the finale finally gives us the full picture of what happened in that cave. When young Henry opens that briefcase, we see what looks like exotic matter, these dark particles that meld into his wounded hand. It gives Henry a vision of the Mind Flayer particles in the abyss, with a whispered voice telling him to find it. The scientist tries to urge Henry to resist whatever influence is reaching out to him, but he's not exactly convincing. Henry uses his newfound powers to finish the job and blow up what's left of the scientist's face. Jamie Campbell Bower's performance in this scene is incredible. The way he shifts between the terror of young Henry experiencing this horror and the cold recognition in present-day Vecna watching his own origin story. It explains an entire chain of events that reaches into the present. But the bigger deal for our gang is what happens after Max and Holly manage to break free. Their outcomes split in a way that reveals the new map of this story. Max wakes up in Hawkins' hospital, back in her body. Holly, on the other hand, wakes up somewhere else, in a horrifying lair with something disgusting and life-sucking in her mouth, a vine she has to physically pull out just to breathe properly again. Then she runs outside, expecting the Upside Down, but what she finds is the twist. She's not in the Upside Down, she's in the Abyss. That moment does a lot of heavy lifting in a few seconds. It separates the locations cleanly. The Upside Down is the bridge. The Abyss is the destination, where Vecna is operating, where the captured children are being kept, where the Demogorgons and the Mind Flayer are tied to as the origin space where those threats truly belong. Holly nearly escapes after that, and the way the show handles it is cruel in a very effective way. She falls through a crack that seems to lead her toward the Upside Down, and for a moment it feels like the story is giving her a way out. But she's captured again, literally yanked out of the air by Vecna's powers. Even so, her near escape matters because she screams for help as she falls, and that scream is heard by Nancy. Back in the real world, when Nancy explains what happened, Dustin realizes what it all means. If Holly fell from above into the Upside Down, then the Abyss is literally above it. Once that's understood, the plan for the finale becomes clearer. The gang doesn't just need to go into the Upside Down and fight there. Killing Vecna still leaves loose ends. They need to use the Upside Down as the bridge it truly is and reach the Abyss itself. So the plan going forward is simple in concept, even if it's insane in execution. They need to get back into the Upside Down, climb the radio tower, and jump through to the Abyss while it's crashing downward toward their world. Because Vecna's goal is not to rule the Upside Down. His goal is to merge the Abyss and Earth, using the Upside Down bridge as the connection point. The finale delivers on that plan in the most spectacular way possible. The heroes actually climb the upside-down version of the Squawk radio tower, and as the Abyss descends close enough, they literally climb through the rifts and into the Abyss itself. The visual effects department absolutely pulled out all the stops here. Watching Nancy and the team survey the Abyss for the very first time, standing on this alien rocky landscape while looking utterly badass, is one of the most memorable images in the entire series. They made it. They actually reached the place that's been teased as this unreachable dimension, and now they have to fight their way through it. That's where the 12 children become more than just victims. Vecna has captured 12 Hawkins kids and plugged them into his structure inside the Abyss. He's siphoning their power, using it to amplify his own abilities, and then using that amplified strength to force the collision of worlds. The kids are conduits, batteries, and anchors all at the same time. Their psychic output is being used as fuel for the merge. This is where the show starts connecting the present-day horror back to the long backstory hinted at through the stage play and the Nevada material. The Abyss is also called Dimension X in that play, and Volume 2 treats those names as the same place. Different labels, same location. The key idea stays consistent: an alternate chaotic dimension separate from the Upside Down, and the place where the Mind Flayer is tied to and where Vecna is rooted. Volume 2 also clarifies something huge about Henry's story. When Eleven banished Henry after the lab massacre, she didn't send him to the Upside Down, she sent him to the Abyss. That's where he has been since, and that's where his lair exists. The tree-like structure where the children are being held and used to power his plan. At the same time, Volume 2 hints that this is not Henry's first exposure to that place. The Nevada cave memory points to an earlier incident when Henry was a child. In the stage play backstory, Henry is transported to Dimension X for about 12 hours and makes contact with the entity known as the Mind Flayer. When he returns, he's changed. His personality is altered, and even his blood type is described as being radically different. And that detail about his blood isn't random. It becomes the connective thread between the Abyss and the Hawkins lab program. Captain Brenner's story is tied to a military experiment involving the USS Eldridge, a device meant to turn the ship invisible, but instead transporting it to the Abyss where everyone dies except Captain Brenner. He returns physically altered, and his altered blood becomes part of Dr. Brenner's obsession with the phenomenon. Then Henry returns from the Abyss with the same kind of altered blood, and that becomes central to how the lab's psychic children are created. Henry's blood is transfused into unborn babies, including 11, giving them powers. Later, after Dr. Brenner is gone, Dr. K tries to restart the program using Callie's blood, but it doesn't work, and she becomes obsessed with getting 11 because 11's blood is what can carry that same effect forward. All of that keeps pulling the story back to one uncomfortable truth. The Abyss is not just a monster world. It's a place that changes people in a strange and broken way. It rewrites them at the biological level, and those changes can be weaponized. The show is tying decades of experimentation, abuse, and military obsession back to contact with the Abyss and whatever force exists inside it. But here's where the finale drops. The biggest shock about the Abyss that nobody saw coming. Will is able to tap into the hive mind during the final battle and offers Henry something he's never had: empathy. He urges Henry to fight the Mind Flayer's influence, saying young Henry was a vessel just like him, and then Henry reveals the truth. He says he chose to join the Mind Flayer. He doesn't control it, and it doesn't control him. They're partners. And then comes the revelation that completely recontextualizes everything we thought we knew about Vecna's lair. That spidery structure where the children are being held? It's not just a building or a nest, it's actually the Mind Flayer in the flesh. The lair literally unfurls into a full-sized Mind Flayer, and it chases the Abyss group down in one of the most spectacular special effects sequences of the entire series. Will's storyline fits into this as well, but in a different way. Will explains that his powers are not like Eleven's. They're not something he can summon anywhere at any time. His abilities only work near the hive mind, and he describes what he's doing as siphoning, basically piggybacking on Vecna's abilities. The show traces this back to Season 1 when Will was captured in the Upside Down and exposed to a mysterious organic substance containing Mind Flayer particles. That means that Will's linked because something from that other world got inside him. It also reinforces that these particles, this living hive intelligence, are tied to what Dustin calls the Abyss. And it builds the unsettling idea that the bridge has been leaking. Not just gates opening, but residue, influence, and infection passing through. And that will proves just how powerful that connection can be in the finale. When Vecna is about to kill 11 by spearing her with his hand, Will takes control of him from within the hive mind. It's a chills moment where Will literally tears off Vecna's arm while telling him they're not afraid of him, and 11 finishes the job of impaling him. The Mind Flayer collapses in flames, its heart shrivels up, and Joyce Byers finally gets to deliver the killing blow by cutting Vecna's head off with repeated brutal swings of her axe while flashbacks to all the trauma he's caused play out. It's bloody, cathartic, and gives Joyce one of the all-time banger lines of the series. So by the end of Volume 2, the Abyss becomes the big center of gravity for everything else in the story. The origin world of the Mind Flayer and Demogorgons, where Henry was sent, and where he operates now, where the children are being held. The target for the finale's rescue mission, and the dimension Vecna is forcing toward Earth, using the upside-down wormhole as a bridge to make the merge possible. That's why this is so unexpected. For years, the Upside Down was treated like the main mystery, the big question mark and threat. But now, Volume 2 has demoted it in a way that makes it even more frightening. Not the enemy's homeland. The unstable hallway between worlds held together by a single stabilizing energy source that can be disrupted, collapsed, and turned into a death trap. Once that bridge starts failing, the danger becomes less about monsters and more about physics, about space, about being caught in a structure that can rip open and throw you into dimensional nothingness. That's why the exotic matter isn't just a scientific term. It becomes the hinge of the entire story. The whole bridge depends on it. The whole plan to stop Vecna depends on destroying it. But doing that might be far harder than anyone expects. Volume 2 ends with the gang pushing into that final stage. After everything, they get the group back together. They connect the discoveries, they understand what the Upside Down is and what the Abyss is. Then they prepare for battle, knowing the next move is not just to survive another crawl through the Upside Down, but to reach the Abyss itself, where Vecna is controlling the merge at the source. And right before the story cuts away, the show reminds you what the heroes are up against. In Vecna's control space, the captured children are gathered as part of a creepy ceremony, sitting around a dinner table, hands held, heads turning, bodies moving in sync. It signals that the merge is no longer a threat in the distance. It's beginning. Vecna is making his move. The finale ends with Murray setting the bomb timer and the Upside Down collapsing into nothing after everyone escapes. Everything inside is swept into the void of space in an insane visual sequence that feels like watching a world die. 11 stands at the Mach Z gate while everyone screams for her in slow motion, and then she's gone. The Upside Down is gone. Where the gate once stood is simply the ruins of Hawkins' library. The bridge is destroyed, the Abyss is sealed away forever, and the nightmare is finally over. But the show leaves us with one beautiful ambiguity. Mike shares a theory that when 11 seemingly perished in the explosion, the military's power-dampening machines were active, which should have rendered her powerless. So how was she standing so upright at that threshold? Mike chooses to believe that before Kali died, she conjured an illusion of 11 while the real Elle escaped somewhere else. We see a shot of 11 hiking through beautiful scenery, reaching a clearing with those 3 waterfalls she once dreamed about. Whether it's real or just a story Mike tells himself to cope, the others tearfully agree to believe it too. The Abyss was never just another dimension. It was the source of everything. The Mind Flayer's home. The origin of Henry's powers. The place that corrupts and transforms anyone who touches it. And now that the bridge connecting it to our world has been destroyed, maybe humanity is finally safe from whatever horror has been reaching out since that first contact decades ago. Unless, of course, you believe in sequels. But for now, the Abyss is sealed, the bridge is gone, and the Stranger Things saga has finally come to an end. So, what do you think about how the show handled the Abyss reveal? Did it blow your mind like it did ours? Let us know in the comments below, and if you want to see more Stranger Things content and theories, click the video on screen now.